This is Sharon Massey. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I just wanted to show you another card from the card set that's called A Little Wild. I got the bundle, and I'm having so much fun with it. A very wise person passed on some wisdom to me and said that if you buy a stamp set, you should be able to make at least 3 different cards with it. So I've already shown you one card on a previous video, and now this is my second card. So I just wanted to show this to you. It opens up, it's like this, this is linen thread, and it just opens up like this with the little line on the back, and it's so cute because his little tail's sticking up. So I just wanted to show you how to make this card. First, I'd like to show you most of the items that you're going to need to build this card. I did use this stamp set again, as I said, A Little Wild, and I used the bundle that goes with it, so the little framelets. This one, which is the lion framelit, and then also they have this neat little vine with leaves. So I've used both of those. I first stamped the lion, and this is what I've got. And then what I did is I colored him, and I used a blender pen and some of the crushed curry ink to color him, and then I did fussy cut. Now some people wonder, why in the world do I do this first and then cut it out? It's because it's so much easier. It's a lot easier to get around in here. You're not cutting with this, and I just find it easier to go on and cut it out with the framelit, and then if you want to fussy cut. I didn't want the white in here. I wanted his tail to be separate, so I went on and fussy cut it, but I did color first because that's easier for me to do that on that larger piece of paper. So that was with the crushed curry. Then what I did is I also used this, what I did is I just used this You Make Me Smile for the inside sentiment of my card. So I've already pre-stamped that, and I'll give you the measurements of everything later, but that's this. And then I made this element right here with these punches like this. And so I stamped first Wild About You on the 1 inch, and then in the lemon lime twist, I punched a 1.5 inch circle, and then in the Old Olive, a 1 3/8 inch circle. And I decided, since this was a little wild, I really didn't want them to be concentric. I wanted them to be off. So when I layered them, I layer them like this. I just thought that was more appropriate for the card. So I did that. Also, I've got these, if you'll look right here and also over here, I made those to reinforce the paper, since there was going to be this linen thread through it. I didn't want it to tear the paper, and I made that, and I'll show you how a little bit later, with the 1/2 inch circle, and this is the 1/16 inch hand punch. You may want to use the 1/8. It may be a little bit better, and I'll show you why later. Then the inks I used to ink up these front panels, I used the lemon lime, the Old Olive, and the Pear Pizzazz. So those are the pieces, most of them that I used. I obviously used a bone folder. I also have an embossing stylus that I've used, and some things like that. So as I progress, you'll see how I did some of this. So let me get to the measurements. Here are the pieces that you are going to need for your card base and for the inside of the card. This is a piece of 5.5 by 8.5 lemon lime twist, and it was scored at 2 1/8. So what this is going to be, we're going to make a gatefold, and it's really good if you really burnish this side pretty good. So we'll do that, and then we will burnish this side. So now we've got a gatefold card, that base that we're going to be working with. This is what is going to go on the inside. It's Whisper White, and this particular piece is 5 by 3 3/4, and is what we will later glue on to the inside of the card. I want to show you a little bit about how to do the panels. You'll need 2 pieces of Whisper White paper. Each of them should measure 2 by 5 1/4. So I have put them in this embossing folder. The name of that particular folder is Petal Burst. And so this is the Petal Burst embossing folder. I have run it already through, and you get this lovely shapes on here. I love this texture. I love this particular embossing folder. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you how I inked that up. I love inking. For me, it's a lot of fun. And so this is where I'm going to use my lemon lime and my pear pizzazz and my old olive. The reason I did that is I wanted this guy to kind of look like he's in a wooded, maybe forestry little area. So I wanted different tones in here. So what I did is I'm using an ink applicator, and I'm not going to change the ink applicator. I'm going to work from the lightest to the darkest, and I think I'll be fine. I also have a silicone mat here that I use all the time to keep from being really messy. So I'm going to dab this, and I'm going to come off the side, and I'm just going to start coming in like this. And I'm only going to do one of these to show you. There's not an exact science to this. You just kind of layer this on. You may add more later. But right now all we're going to do is get a layer of that lemon lime down. I love this color. I mean, I'm almost tempted just to leave it that way. But I do want that shaded effect in there. And so here's some lemon lime. I'm not too worried about any white spots because I am going to be coming back in with these other colors. Now we're going to go up just a little bit in darkness and have a little darker, and we're going to start on the edges and pull that color in. And I just love already what that's doing. So you can do it as much or as little as you want. It's your preference. That will kind of guide what you do. I don't want this all over the card. I just want it in places because I want it to be, trees have shadows. If you look at a tree, you'll see some light spots and some dark spots. I do want a little darker on the corners, just a little bit, but I can come back in with the old olive and finish that up. And so now we're starting to get this variegated color in here. We'll finally now add the old olive, and we'll come back and drag it across. Get some of those darker spots in there. And again, this is not exact. But I love doing this. It's fun. This is relaxing, actually, to do this. And I don't particularly like the way that one's looking, so I'm just going to come in here and pull it up some. And maybe a little bit over here. Okay, so as you see, we're getting some variation in color, and that is what you want. Then you just glue those down on these front panels. So once I would finish this, what I do is I would just come in here and I would actually take this and I'm going to butt that up right to the center line. So then I'll get my second one. When I get it done, I will put it over here, and that gives me this border. So I don't want any separation in there, so that's when you glue it, rather than trying to center it, which will make it very difficult for you. You're going to just pull it over like this, and then you'll have it. So that's how I got this piece. So then I glue those down to get this right here, and then I put together this element. And I've already told you the sizes of the punches, but all I did is I just used some snail adhesive to stick these together. I did use a dimensional. I think I actually used 2 dimensionals on the back of this because I wanted it popped up a little bit. So that's what I did here, and the Wild About You. And then what I did is I used the framelit that I showed you earlier to cut these pieces down. And all I did was I opened up my card like before all of this was there. I just laid it down and then snipped it, and then I did the same thing, and it's going to leave some pieces. And I think I'm going to go, I didn't do this with the first card, but I think I'm going to go back and put those leftover pieces on the corners here and here. I think that'll look really nice to do that. So that is how you get this right there. Then I wanted to put this reinforcement in here, and I wanted to show you how to do that. What you're going to do is you just take a scrap of your old olive, and you're going to take your 1/2 inch punch. And before you punch it though, what you want to do is you just want to take this handheld 1/16 of an inch punch, and you just want to go in there and punch. And then it's a lot easier to center that when you are punching. So it just makes it easier to do that. And one of the things that I do, because I don't have the 1/8 punch, I go on and take my stylus and I run it down in there like this, because I want that opening actually to be a little bigger, and then I just pull it out so that I'll have plenty of room for that linen thread to go through. So I do that. And I did 4 of those. Now I'm actually using a slightly larger punch now because it dawned on me, whoops, this size punch you cannot get anymore from Stampin' Up. So I went to this one. This is the 1/2 punch, and I think it's going to look just fine putting it there instead of these smaller ones. I made 4 of these. So I glued down, and you can just use snail, and if you just really use a lot of snail, you could use an adhesive sheet if you want to, and then cut, put this on the paper before you die cut it on your adhesive sheet, and then run it through your die, and then you'd have like a sticker that you could put on here. But I just took mine and I just used good old snail and gobbed it up really good on both sides. So I laid those down. Then once I had these punched, what I did is, in order to make sure I knew exactly where to punch this piece, I just took a little pin and I put a mark right there, and then I went back in here. This is before I mailed, before I adhered these. I went back and punched, and then I lined up my holes. So I've got 3 layers actually. I've got this layer right here, and I've got this layer, and again, I used a lot of glue, and you can use other adhesives. You might want to use the multi-purpose glue. Again, I'm just using the regular adhesive, but I really loaded it up. I also took a little hat pin and made sure that I did like this, because sometimes glue gets in there and then it's hard to run your linen thread through. And so then all you do is you cut your linen thread and you run it through both sides and tie a little bow, and you are done. And that's that card. So I hope you've enjoyed this card. It's really simple. It's a lot of fun to do. And I will see you another time. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.